On tonight's Wales at 6, travel chaos as the vital artery in and out of Anglesey shuts indefinitely. Residents are left asking why it's come to this again. The devastating impact of suicide in our rural communities. Young farmers speak out about the rise in deaths amongst their peers.
There's no need to be afraid to speak up and say, no, I need help.
Plus, at a cost of £25 million, it's hoped this is the answer to protect thousands of homes from floods.
And there's a real backstage buzz here at the Wales Millennium Centre. We'll be live later on at the ceremony for the Welsh Music Prize.
Hello, good evening to you. The sudden closure of a vital link to Wales's busiest port and the Isle of Anglesey has seen major delays and disruption. The Menai Bridge, one of two linking the island with the mainland, was shut indefinitely over the weekend due to safety concerns. It follows nearly 3 years of repair work and frustration for residents. Well, Ian Lang is there for us tonight. Ian, do we know what the issue is that led to this closure?
Now, this is literally an issue of nuts and bolts. They were doing some survey work and they've discovered that bolts beneath the decking need to be replaced. Now, they were hoping that a 3-ton limit would keep the bridge open for cars, but that's proved unenforceable, so they've had to close it. It's all happened rather suddenly and people really aren't very happy. This morning, and the closure of the Menai Suspension Bridge is already having an impact. Long tailbacks as motorists negotiate their way off the island via the Britannia Bridge, now the only way on and off Ynys by road. And that's how it's going to be for the foreseeable future. That after an investigation revealed that bolts under the 200-year-old structure need replacing. But for small businesses in Menai Bridge, this is the second time this has happened, after the bridge was closed for repairs in 2022 after serious safety concerns. For them, it's a potential disaster.
Christmas is the most important business trading time of the year. This is when we spend a lot of money on stock. And to have this happening in the run-up to Christmas is pretty disastrous because high streets everywhere and small businesses are really vulnerable.
Like I said, it's difficult running a business as it is, but with this now, where people can't travel over to Menai Bridge, onto Anglesey, on and off, it's going to be tough. We rely a lot on online delivery services, so they'll use a hub in Bangor, where all their drivers will sort of hang out until the jobs are assigned to them. So with the bridge closed now, they're not able to get over here to pick up the orders and deliver them where they need to be.
So financially, that's going to hit you.
It is. It's going to be a massive financial burden on us.
Now, unless you have a boat or a plane, there are only two ways of getting on and off Anglesey. And all this really does beg the question whether two bridges built during the age of steam are really up to the job. So what's the solution? Selwyn Williams has been campaigning for a third crossing for 30 years.
We're now a free port on Anglesey here, and we're encouraging British and Welsh and international businesses to come here to set up their businesses. The only problem they've got here is we're relying on two antique bridges to take their goods off the island here, which is no good at all, as you can imagine. If these hold-ups carry on like this, and we have this bad reputation sustaining the growth of businesses on Anglesey, we'll be getting less and less businesses coming here.
Transport Secretary Ken Skates has apologised for the frustrations caused to bridge users. He said the Welsh Government had to listen to advice from engineers, but he was pressing the UK highways for an early resolution. But Plaid Cymru say the situation is not good enough.
They say they're looking at other things. Well, what other things? I put forward a 3-lane option for years and years. Let's crack on with that at the minimum whilst making the case for a third bridge. We need to see a resilient crossing over the Menai Strait because we can't afford to be isolated.
Patience here is running out.
Well, Ian, we heard a little bit in your report there about the importance of the crossing, but put that in context for us. Just how crucial is it?
Well, around 13 cars use this bridge, so as you've seen, it causes a great deal of congestion. Around 36,000 cars use the Britannia Bridge. Again, you can imagine the congestion, but this situation, it's a reputational thing really, because these bridges are the main land link between Ireland and the rest of Europe, and trade runs into billions. So the fact there is a question mark over, should we say, reliability is not a good look for Wales. So no wonder people are saying something really needs to be done and fast. And I should say that people want to find out more. There is more information on the Welsh Government website.
Ian Lang, thank you. Next, it's a grim reality for far too many families losing a loved one to suicide, and new statistics now reveal that 436 people took their own lives in Wales last year. That means that the rate of suicide deaths here has not only risen but is now much higher than over the border in England. Charity Samaritans Cymru has now focused a new campaign targeting rural communities, where the number of suicides among young people is often highest. Our Rural Affairs correspondent Hannah Thomas has more.
It's long been called the biggest killer of young people, and in rural Wales it seems the risk of suicide is even greater. Will Meadmore from Usk knows of local farmers who've taken their own lives. He's raised money for mental health charities because he doesn't want to see any more young farmers become a suicide statistic in his area.
There's been a couple of people around here. It's not very nice to think about, but yeah, it happens. You're spending hours on your own in tractor cabs or, you know, in milking parlours and stuff like that. I know people that have been in dark places and they've managed to get out of it through help. And I just think it's really important to keep boosting the message to make sure that no one is in that position.
Such is the scale of the problem in rural Wales that a new project is now aiming to provide mental health training to more than 100 young farmers and agricultural students, wherever they live and work.
Well, this autumn, charity Samaritans Cymru says that for every person who takes their own life, another 130 people are affected by their death on average. And so the ripple effect of each suicide is huge.
Dwi wedi bod trwy lot o pethau fy hun a di colli pobl at pethau iechyd meddwl.
This video has launched the charity's new campaign to try and tackle it. It began in mid-Wales and it's now being rolled out across the rest of the country.
They found that there was high numbers of suicides amongst the farming communities and younger farming members of the farming community in mid-Wales. I think in rural societies, everyone is aware of someone somewhere who has taken their life, you know, even recently or even years and years ago. So it's something that affects us being part of that agricultural society.
The latest figures show that out of every 100,000 deaths across Wales last year, nearly 16 of those were suicides. That's now significantly higher than in England, and a figure that everybody wants to see reduced to zero.
Well, Hannah joins us now. I can see you've got some company there. You've looked at the situation in rural Wales, but it's not just an issue that affects that part of society, is it?
Yes, absolutely, Andrea. It looks the rural backdrop here, doesn't it? You can see I'm surrounded by Mummy Pig and her 10 cute piglets, all sleeping at the moment. They are just 4 weeks old. And as you say, it does look like a rural scene, but we are at this farm just a stone's throw away, really, from Pontypridd, one of the biggest towns in the South Wales valleys. And so suicide, sadly, is an issue not just affecting rural Wales, but also urban parts of Wales too. Now, the focus today has very much been on rural Wales because as cute as these piglets look, they do take a lot of looking after. And at the moment, there are lots of pressures on the farming sector in particular. Even today, there are still majority of farmers are still men in Wales, and last year 77% of the total figure of those who took their own lives in Wales were men. That's 337 men, Andrea. The viewers watching at home will know that that is far too high a figure and they'll want to see it coming down.
Really strong message, Hannah, thank you, and make sure you don't wake those sleeping piglets behind you there too. And if you or anyone you know has been affected by the issues in Hannah's report, you can find help at itv.com/helplines. A jury has today heard from a Chinese takeaway employee who says he was racially abused by a former firefighter. Gareth Hancock worked for South Wales Fire and Rescue in June 2023 when it's alleged he harassed staff at the Tredegar takeaway after a drunken night out with colleagues. Well, following the case is our national correspondent Rob Osborne.
Well, Gareth Hancock is facing 2 charges here at Cardiff Crown Court, and they both relate to the same night, on the 2nd of June 2023. The first is of racially aggravated intentional harassment, alarm or distress, and the second of damaging property. And it's all connected to the events that took place that day in Yummy's Chinese Takeaway in Tredegar. Mr. Hancock, who is an off-duty fire officer at the time, had been on a night out with colleagues when they ended up in the restaurant. The sole witness today was Un Chen, who was serving that night in the family business. He said Mr. Hancock had made a number of racially offensive comments that evening, some aimed at family members. Now, we can't repeat them here, but they're related to the food and people's appearances. When asked how he felt about those comments, he said, very offended, just degrading. Mr. Chen said he ignored it, and as the order was being cooked, Mr. Hancock was banging on the desk, on the counter, asking for the food to be brought out quicker. Later, liquid is spotted on the floor of the restaurant. Mr. Hancock is said to have blamed it on lager, but Mr. Chen said that he didn't bring any lager in with him, and while he was in the shop, he only purchased a soft drink. The prosecution alleged that he urinated on the floor. Mr. Chen said Mr. Hancock then left with colleagues in what he described as a fire van. Now, Mr. Chen will continue to give evidence here at Cardiff Crown Court tomorrow, where Gareth Hancock denies all the charges.
Well, Bosbourne reporting there. Well, that's still to come. Ruth is going to be here with your forecast for you.
I will indeed, and yes, after some rather eventful weather over the weekend, you'll be pleased, I'm sure, to hear there's a spell of relative calm this week. Dry, cloudy and mild. I'll see you soon.
And Mike is out and about with the hottest tickets in Welsh music. So, Mike, where are you?
15 albums vying to win the Welsh Music Prize, but we'll also be hearing and paying tribute to a legend of Welsh music in a few minutes' time.
We look forward to that. But first, senior Welsh Conservatives say they will prove the polls wrong in next May's Senedd election. The most recent poll for ITV Wales suggests they would come in a distant 4th place, but leaders and members at the party's conference in Manchester insist that they will turn the situation around. Our political editor, Adrian Masters, is at that conference for us. Good evening, Adrian. It sounds like the Conservatives are optimistic, despite everything.
Andrea, they know how bad the defeat was last year, and they know that they need to respond to that. They know how difficult the situation is looming ahead of them at the Senedd election next May. And yet, as you say, they're still optimistic. How can that be? Well, they genuinely think that despite all of those problems, they can turn the situation round. At least that's what they've been saying here in Manchester.
Welcome to Conservative Party Conference.
Welsh Conservatives joined colleagues from across the UK to highlight challenges facing farmers, the sort of issue they think will help win them votes in next year's Senedd election. As is education, which is why they focused on it at an event organised by the think tank Onward. They're angry at what they say are the failings of Welsh Labour, but frustrated that they haven't ever been able to form a government in Cardiff. To do that, they'd have to work with other parties, so it might seem strange that the Welsh leader used his speech to attack potential partners, particularly Reform UK.
Look, Reform is masquerading as a Conservative party, but what we know is it's a spend big party that doesn't tell you how it's going to pay for things. That is not Conservative to be so irresponsible without telling you how they're going to pay for things.
Might still work with them after the election, then, might?
Well, what we've said is it's in the national interest for there to be a change of government in Cardiff Bay. You can't have the same party ruling the roost for 26 years. I want to see that change. Look, it makes my toes curl, the idea of having to work with Reform or Plaid Cymru or anybody else. But what we do know is that the new electoral system will mean that parties have to work together. Sometimes people who are not natural bedfellows will have to be able to come up with some sort of plan. And I am determined to make sure that we knock Labour off its perch and we deliver something different.
Reform says it's absurd to think that the Conservatives can offer that something different. Our recent poll shows the Tories could come a very distant fourth next May. So how are those who are out knocking doors feeling? How hopeful or otherwise are you about next year? I'm sure you've seen our poll.
Well, I don't pay attention to the polls. Frankly, what I try to do is look at the messaging that we're putting out. I'm really happy to see that we in the Conservatives, and particularly in the Welsh Conservatives, have a message about a stronger economy.
People are turning against the Conservatives, turning away from them. Why are you, as a young person, turning towards them?
Because I think that we need a future for people, for young people in Wales. I think that it's a complete disaster that 20% of children leave primary school functionally illiterate, and we need someone who has a plan to do that, and that's Darren Millar.
A lot of pressure then on Darren Millar and Kemi Badenoch, here experiencing the Manchester rain. For both leaders, there could be a storm ahead. Well, I'm delighted to say that I'm joined here in Manchester by the Shadow Welsh Secretary, Mims Davies. Thank you for talking to us on Wales at 6.
Pleasure to be with you.
Do you acknowledge how bad and how difficult the situation is facing the Conservatives in Wales?
Well, firstly, thank you for covering our conference here in Manchester, the Conservative and Unionist Party. And that is one of our key messages in terms of fighting back from what's been a historically difficult defeat. We are 1 year on from a big leadership election this time last year. We've obviously got Darren and the team in the Senate going to the polls next year. We've got to get some great policies out, which you have seen today, and do that fight back.
All of those are fair points to make, but the question I was asking you was about the situation in Wales. Our poll showing that you could score as low as 11% of the vote next May, which would be really difficult for you, wouldn't it?
Yeah, and forgive me, and what I was trying to say is a context for those polls, and that of course will change for us.
Oh, I see. So sorry to interrupt you, but you think that actually it was the 14 years of UK government or the reaction to the UK government that's costing
Yeah,
the Welsh
I think it's 1
party.
year on from a historic defeat that means that we've got no Conservative MPs left in Wales, which is so disappointing. But our fight back begins in the Senedd with a massive set of elections, a completely changed way of people of Wales voting, and a completely changed picture, not just for us, but for the ruling party for the last 25 years. You've got a UK Labour government and a government in Wales, the Labour government, which is dead.
If you are to be in government after the election, there's a very strong chance you would have to work with another party. That could be Plaid Cymru, although that's unlikely, but it could be Reform UK. That is likely, isn't it? Would you be comfortable with that?
Well, I think Darren said that the thought of working with any other party makes his toes curl.
Does it make your toes curl?
It makes my hair curl, Adrian. But what I would say is we're fighting for absolutely every single vote. This is not a done deal. These are polls, and we're going to be fighting for every vote as we go into May, making this strong Conservative case. And I know that next week you're at the Plaid conference, which is a party that's apparently on the up as well, who wants to break up our union. And we're only party absolutely who is determined to keep our union together.
I will put questions to Plaid when they get to that conference. Do you think that your party needs to be more Welsh, I suppose, more different?
I think our party needs to listen to the Welsh voters who gave us a very bloody nose a year ago. But of course, with Darren and with the team, we've got the opportunity to show what Conservatives are made of. There's some policies here, Adrian. I'd love to come back and talk about them another day.
Well, you can come back on Sharp End tomorrow night and talk at
Thank you for having
Mims
me.
Davies, thank you very much. And Andrea, the conference here in Manchester continues for the next couple of days.
Always more room for debate on Sharp End. Adrian, thanks very much indeed. A new flood defence scheme has been unveiled in Newport, designed to protect more than 2,000 homes. The £25 million project has seen new flood walls, gates and grass embankments installed to protect from the dangers of the River Usk bursting its banks in bad weather. Issa Farfor reports.
It's been years in the making and has cost millions of pounds. But today, Newport has finally unveiled its biggest ever flood defence project. The scheme is designed to protect more than 2,000 homes and businesses in one of the city's most at-risk communities. The Stevenson Street Flood Risk Management Scheme has been led by Natural Resources Wales with funding from the Welsh Government.
Do you think 25 million is money well spent here?
Yeah, absolutely. Not only because of the flood protection for the thousands of homes and businesses behind it, and the green spaces we've created, but also the young people that have been employed here. So local contractors, local consultancy designing, but also the apprentices that have been employed here.
This project brings 700 metres of sheet piling, new floodwalls and gates and reinforced barrier, plus upgrades to Coronation Park with walking routes, viewing platforms and over 1,600 trees.
Whilst the infrastructure is really important, it's also important that we protect the local environment here. We have a special area of conservation river and a site of special scientific interest. So it's important that when we do develop schemes such as this to protect the people of Newport, is that we do it in a sustainable and sensitive way.
But as climate change intensifies, with 1 in 7 properties in Wales at risk of flooding, the question is, will defences like these be enough?
In Wales, our winters are getting wetter, we're seeing more rainfall, we're seeing more intense rainfall, and that means greater flood risk. We want everyone in Wales to be flood aware and to be weather aware as well.
For now, Newport has stronger protection against the threat of rising waters. But in a changing climate, flood defences are only one part of the battle. Isa Farfur, ITV News in Newport.
It is 21 minutes past 6 now. Still to come tonight. Injury. Leeds winger Daniel James is also a late withdrawal from the squad, causing a headache for manager Craig Bellamy. But the players themselves are upbeat ahead of a pivotal week in their quest for World Cup qualification.
We've got 2 huge games against two big countries, but why can't we go toe-to-toe with them? I think the way that we work day in, day out, when we're away on these camps and the meetings and the details that we go into, we know that we're going to be fully prepared for both games, and we want to give the best account of ourselves when we step out in both of them games.
And shot putter Aled Sean Davis has won his 7th consecutive title at the World Para Athletics Championships in New Delhi. Davis threw 16.44 metres on his 5th attempt to put himself in pole position. The 34-year-old has now set his sights on breaking his own world record at the 2028 Paralympics in Los Angeles. Now, a star-studded evening is set to get underway for the Welsh Music Prize in Cardiff. 15 artists are in the running for the top prize, with the winner set to take home £10,000. The event is a chance to celebrate the very best of Welsh talent, as Mike Griffiths can tell us. You're there for us tonight, and it is not very long at all to go now, is it?
Not at all, Andrea. We're treated to not just the ceremony, but performances from some of the artists nominated. It's 15th year celebration of the wide range of fantastic albums that have been made in Wales over the past year. Also tonight, though, there'll be the Inspiration Award, which is again a fixture of this ceremony each year. This year awarded to the bass player Pino Palladino. He's played with pretty much any artist you can name, and we're very, very lucky that yesterday we got to sit down with him and have a quick chat.
My attitude's always the same. Whatever the music is, I just go in and try and sort of just fit into the music and bring something to it that's not there, and hopefully not make it worse, you know, make it better. I don't think of it as pressure, really. I just really enjoy playing the bass and bringing what I do to other people's music. I think it's a personality type. You have to be the right personality to want to do that.
Well, let me introduce you to one of the groups who are nominated tonight, Melin, and Griff and Garmon from the bands. There are 6 of you normally, aren't there? But let's just talk about the album, because it's been a long time making, isn't it?
Yeah, we've been together for 6 years, and we released 2 EPs, Blancmange and Happy Gathering, and then finally we got round to making this album, which we're really happy with, aren't we, Garmon?
Yeah, very happy with it.
Which is Mill on the Hill, isn't it? Which is no surprise. It's very closely tied in with the whole identity of the band and actually how you dress and the kind of world you've built around it.
Yes, well, we are 6 millers who live in the mill and create music for the villagers of Melin Village, and we are creating music for them all on a daily basis. And this was a collection that we thought that we would share with
Is this going out to Melin Village, do you know, Mike?
I believe that Transmitter Range covers it, so it's
Great
fantastic.
Stuff. Hello to
what
you
a
all
wonderful
back home.
world you've made, though. I mean, just in a nutshell, short for time, but every kind of genre covered in this, isn't there?
I believe so, yes. I'm totally unaware what our genre is. But yeah, we just write what's in our heads, really, and then people try and label it with some imagination, but I'm not really sure how to describe it.
The very best for tonight. You've got to perform as well. A real treat in store. We'll bring you the winner later on.
Lots of treats in store. Mike, thanks very much indeed. And a treat in store, hopefully, with the weather. Well, Ruth is a treat anyway, but will the forecast be a treat? Well, I don't know.
Do you build this up now? I'm just worried everyone's going to be disappointed. But yeah, I mean, the weekend. Wow, what a weekend that was. A storm, Amy. Wasn't it just? Yes, you may have remembered that the last 48 hours or so were quite eventful. We had a lot of weather, didn't we, over the weekend? As far as the next few days are concerned, I'm sure you'd be glad to hear not quite so much weather. As far as the general setup is concerned, it's looking largely fine and settled. The temperatures actually for the time of year are going to be quite mild, but there is a little bit of a blip on the way for tomorrow night into Wednesday. And that tiny blip comes courtesy of a cold front. As we head through tomorrow night, we could see some bits and pieces of patchy rain and drizzle, nothing too heavy. And once that has cleared, high pressure, as you can see, will start to dominate all over again. And actually there are signs that this area of high pressure will just keep on dominating through the coming weekend and into next week as well. It's going to be called an anticyclonic gloom, a phrase that we love at this time of the year because it does mean dry weather, it means relatively mild weather, but it also means an awful lot of cloud is going to stick around. So if you do manage to catch a little bit of that sunshine possibly tomorrow, my advice would be to make the most of it because it's not going to be back anytime soon.
A clear start makes way for a day of ancient discoveries. TUI sponsors ITV Cymru Wales weather.
It's a little on the breezy side out there at the moment. We'll see varying amounts of cloud overnight tonight, possibly turning a little bit murky through places, the usual prone spots. And I wouldn't rule out the possibility of a little bit of drizzle over Eryri where that cloud is quite dense, quite thick. But the temperatures tonight are going to be very mild indeed, barely dipping below 11 or 12 degrees, 13 actually for some, which for the time of year is, as I said, very, very mild. Mild, yes, but not particularly cheerful as we wake to tomorrow morning. We keep that cloud across much of Wales throughout the day, so more cloud, perhaps less sunshine, although we could see a few breaks that little bit further inland. And again over Eryri down across the Menai Bridge, perhaps we could see further patches of drizzle. But the temperatures still holding up at around 17, maybe an 18 if you do see some blue sky and sunshine. But you can see just behind me, there are some echoes of rain, a cold front that will start to sink its way southwards as we head through Tuesday evening and overnight tonight. And you can see varying amounts of rain on that. Nothing too heavy, patchy drizzle, but enough to put a little bit of a dampener on things. Now, the good news is that by the time most of us wake to Wednesday, it will have worked its way southeastwards. Perhaps just a remnants, a few spots of drizzle across parts of Cardiff and into Newport. But for much of Wales, as we wake to Wednesday, it is going to be a bright and beautiful day. Lots of that sunshine. Thankfully, the winds will be slightly more gentle than they have been. It's been a little on the breezy side recently, hasn't it? But temperatures, I think, once that frontal system clear, are going to feel a little bit fresher. Still not bad, but we could still have 16 or 17, but certainly fresher feeling for much of Wales, with calm and settled conditions remaining as we head into the end of the week.
TUI sponsors ITV Cymru Wales weather.
So yes, Storm Amy already a dim and distant memory, which is good news. And I think, as I said, for the next few days, weeks even, things look generally calm and quiet. Oh. Not much to say, really.
Oh, goodness me. Hopefully you've not jinxed it now.
No. Famous last words, you watch now.
And that's it. Hamish is back with your late update. Bye.